Then you have the Cardinals, probably one of those quick cakewalk victories. You have the Buccaneers, 4-12 last year. Let's not go any farther. Bounty scandal with the Saints. Then you have the Panthers, and then round out December with a trip to the Lions, home against the Giants, and then home against the Buccaneers. Do I see 13-3 on that schedule? I really do think so. I don't think Atlanta really should be any less than 10-6 in that division. Just so many good things, including their schedule this year for Atlanta. Not to mention that they're also extremely hungry after that bitter loss to the Giants last year in a game that really wasn't even all that close. The team to win. You watch out. I mean, possibly even a number 1 seed going into the postseason. Everyone sees the Packers. Oh man, the Packers are going to win far and away in the NFC again this year. But let's not mention the fact that their backfield tandem extremely under-talented, and then obviously their defensive unit obviously overshadowed by the offense. But let's not get rid of the fact that, hey, Charles Woodson in that squad, now getting a little bit old. Woodson moved over to safety in that linebacking unit. A lot of no-name guys that are trying to make the tackle and save a touchdown week in and week out over in Green Bay. Just, I don't see the Packers being one of those teams that really could make some sort of a number 1 seed push. Now, I'm not demising the fact that they probably will win the division, but probably with not as many wins as you would expect. After 15 wins last year, maybe a mark like 10-6 or 11-5 this year. Aaron Rodgers is coming into his own, but so many question marks on that defense, and obviously the receiving unit will come along, but that running back core, just a lot of flux over there on that side of the ball. And then a team like the Chicago Bears, let's bear down and hang in there with me, guys. I don't see Chicago making as big of a push as people would imagine. They let go of Brandon Marshall, they let go of him a while ago, but over in Chicago, I mean, just an aging defense with not too many staples that you have on that offensive side at receiver. Johnny Knox is by far seemingly your number 1 target, but a lot of number 2s that you have to scratch your head about. I don't see the Bears winning any more than 11 games. Might want to see the Bears make more of an offensive push before we see them making any sort of a push in the postseason. Jay Cutler, not one of those guys that you rally around with his big mouth on the field and his lack of play on the field as well. Just one of those things that I don't see them winning as many games as people would imagine. Now let's go over to the AFC as well again, and let's go over the playoff predictions. But before I ramble on about too many more things that you guys completely disagree with, I'm ending towards the latter portion of my segment here. Just wanted to let you guys know everything about the NFL, but you guys can chime in as well. I'm looking for a very interactive show. Posted some messages, but apparently not enough. Wasn't able to get the Facebook crew on board for this NFL Cut Days recap show, but the number is 951, also 515-4552. That's the phone number in order to get online and on the air on this show. I will be taking any sort of calls, texts, tweets, whatever it takes for you to get onto this broadcast. Now let's go over to the NFL predictions segment. You guys can chime in and say, hey, look, you have no clue what you're doing. I mean, you obviously don't know that my blank team will be winning however many wins it'll take for them to make the postseason. Now, let's go over to the playoffs. And in the AFC, let's go over the 6 teams that I see making the postseason. Number 1 team in the AFC, Baltimore Ravens. Fair enough. The Ravens are just so young, and they're so ready to just make that push in the regular season. Let's not mention the fact everyone mentions over New York. It's funny. The Jets, hey, they went to the conference championship game 2 out of the past 3 years, and they just seem like one of those teams that can just go back into the postseason with all the talent they have around them. Excuse me. The Ravens have a better quarterback. The Ravens have as good of a defense, if not better than the Jets. The Ravens also have one of those coaches that make more play on the field than talking off, and the Ravens also have they actually have a receiving unit. The Jets have no sort of a receiver. They're on one of those teams that perhaps could go 6 or 7 wins. That's right, 6 or 7 wins. Take that, Rex Ryan, this year. I don't see the Ravens being any less than the number 2 seed. I predict them to be the number 1 seed and glide their way through the playoffs. They're obviously one of those favorites to be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. I see the Ravens already as the number 1 seed. Number 2 seed, the New England Patriots. Not a lot of talk there, not a lot of analysis, but I see them making the postseason. Number 3, going out on a limb on this, I see the Denver Broncos making their case as the number 3 team in the AFC, making their wins necessary in that West Division. And then last but not least, the number 4 seed, after posting 13 wins. They were predicted to win 13. They won 10 games after winning 10 games, mostly on the arm of TJ Yates. I see Houston making another 10-win season and making the number 4 mark. Now, again, for the AFC, a lot of question marks, but excuse me, a little background noise here right now. But I see, let's run down the division winners. Number 1, the Ravens. Number 2, the Patriots. Number 3, the Broncos. And surprisingly, number 4, the Houston Texans. And also include the fact that, let's just run over their schedule real quick besides their divisional opponents. Right off the bat, besides taking on the Dolphins and the Jaguars, 2 teams, not exactly pushovers, but obviously those teams are in transition. But I see them, week 3, they go to Denver against, I see the number 3 seed in the Broncos. Then you have the Titans. You're at the Jets. Always a tough place to play in New York. Then you have the Packers, a big team over there. And then home against the Ravens. I see them winning the number 1 seed. Tough beginning so far for Houston. So I'm already making my case. Hey, look, Houston not going to win as many games as you think, even with a healthy Andre and a healthy Schaub. Now, in the wild card chase, a lot of teams that perhaps can make their mark into the playoffs is a number 5 and 6 team, but let's finalize that right now. I see the Steelers claiming the number 5 spot and not making their hay in the playoffs like we have seen them in the past. The Steelers are a dominant team, win healthy and win young. Obviously, right now, their defense, the Steelers were called old 3 years ago. Now just imagine how good they are right now with an aging Farrier, with an aging cornerback crew, with Harrison getting up there in years and also up there in fine. How many fines has he had so far in the NFL? And then the number 6 team, let's just go around the AFC with the teams that could make their hay. Believe it or not, the Bills have a chance. Beside their lack of receiving threats, the Bills are one of those teams that can make their hay. They were good earlier in the year and then, kind of went in the tank late. And then you also might want to include the fact that perhaps the Raiders or the Chargers can make their hay. In the AFC West, that's a tough division every year. Obviously not the best division, but seemingly always the one that has the most controversy later on in the year. But in this situation, it kills me to say it, but I feel like the Raiders are one of those teams, when healthy, can make a push, and they go 9-7 and win that number 6 seed. Now that kills me absolutely to death that they win the number 6 seed, but let's just have another rundown of their schedule real quick. Week 1 against the Chargers, that just might be a win. You have the Dolphins, then the Steelers at home, maybe a tough out there, but then you have the Broncos, the Falcons, then the lowly Jaguars and the pathetic Chiefs, and then the Buccaneers, 4-12 last year. Then the New Orleans with the bounty scandal, the Browns, the Chiefs again, the Panthers, they went 6-10, the Chargers to round it out. Oh my goodness, the schedule just fortifies the fact that they probably will make a 9-7 playoff push. Now over to the NFC. I'm trying to recap this show real quick because this is about NFL cut days, not about predictions, but I do want to get my spots in before it's too late. Over in the NFC, just a round out of teams 1 through 6 to make the postseason. The number 1 team in the NFC, drum roll please, Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons. It's because of their schedule. Their schedule is just beyond belief easy. And then you all obviously have the Packers with all of their big play weapons. They make the number 2 spot. Number 3 position, the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know how they don't have them higher, but I mean, maybe they just don't have the kind of year that they had. They had a lot of good things happen to them this year. Alex Smith, I mean, the chances of him repeating his performance, I mean, we have to include the fact he was a terrible quarterback for 5 years in San Francisco, and we all just hop onto that Smith bandwagon because the defense carried the football team. Obviously, that defensive squad, at least the top 5 defense next year for the San Francisco 49ers. But, I mean, Alex Smith, you have to win at quarterback in order to have success going into the postseason. San Francisco, the number 3 team. The number 4, rounding it out, the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the Giants make the number 5 spot, and the Bears number 6. Now, I don't have it the other way around because, again, I'm just not very high on Chicago's offensive talent. And then we also include the fact who's their tight end. I mean, you have a lot of no-name guys, and then Olsen, I think he's out of town. So I don't see the Bears making any more than a number 6 push. Might be able to win a wild card game, perhaps even make their hay in the divisional round, but nowhere near the Super Bowl. I don't see him or the Bears being near that mark. Now, over in the playoffs, I already mentioned the seeds. A real quick rundown of who will make it to the conference game. Over in the AFC, the Baltimore Ravens with the number 1 seed, they get it done in the playoffs, winning their divisional round. And then obviously, I mean, the New England Patriots, it's hard enough to see them not winning a divisional game. I see them having the number 2 seed. Do they in fact round out better than the Broncos in the playoffs? I mean, I would be hard-pressed to see the Broncos making it farther than the divisional round. I see the Ravens beating the Patriots in the AFC conference game, and the Ravens make their way into the Super Bowl. And then over in the NFC, everyone wants to put their mark on the Harbaugh Bowl right off the bat. But honestly, I see in the conference championship game, the Green Bay Packers defeating the San Francisco 49ers, and it's a Ravens-Packers Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen. The McCarthy-Harbaugh extravaganza on tap in the big game, Super Bowl 47. And then let's just run down just the fact that the Ravens have their troubles in the secondary. They have had that problem for so many years. They don't have a fortified number 1 at DB ever since Woodson left town early on after that Ravens Super Bowl in 2000. And then the Packers, that's just the mismatch that I think Green Bay will take and run away with. And then obviously Rodgers against Flacco. I mean, as high as I want to be on Flacco, ladies and gentlemen, the Rodgers-led Packers are just too good at this point. They were 15-1, had an extremely disappointing playoff push, but did in fact win. That's right, 15 games. They're obviously a very talented squad. Green Bay, I saw them making not the number 1 seed, only because the Falcons have a very favorable schedule, but I see the Niners losing in the divisional round, then the Packers defeating let's just run down, the Packers, defeating the Niners to make their way into the Super Bowl, then the Packers over the Ravens, possibly one of those very close games in Super Bowl 47. So that'll be it for Nick Rice. A 45-minute show is right on. It's right done. NFL Cut Days recap show presented by Nick Rice on National Sports, Spreaker.com. Thank you guys for watching, and make sure to tune in Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern for the NFL Goal Line with Nick Rice and Phil Nunziata. Thank you all for watching, and again, I will see you next time. Have a good day, guys.